On this episode of the Bangkok Podcast, we chat to an island-based expat who talks about the downsides of living in paradise.
But first, how you can participate in our upcoming AMA episode. That's Ask Me Anything if you're not up on Reddit speak. And another invitation to be in the big Bangkok-wide I Love Podcasting in Bangkok event.
So get your hammocks ready. Here's episode 2.47 of the Bangkok Podcast. Sawadee krap and welcome to the Bangkok Podcast. My name is Greg Jorgensen, a Canadian who came to Thailand in 2001 with a buddy, and when he went back home, I just kind of hung around until I found a job.
And I am Ivo Terra, an American expat living full-time in Bangkok since the beginning of 2016. Thanks for joining us, and welcome to the Big Mango.
So as is customary, we start this episode with a big thanks to our supporters on Patreon who help us keep the show going and free of those annoying commercials that take up so much time. And also, as is the custom for supporters of the show shout-out level, we have someone to say thank you to.
Indeed we do, my friend Greg, and his name is Matthew Kramer this week. The person we're thanking is Matthew Kramer.
Right. Now, I'm a nosy guy, and as you know, I like to do a little bit of checking on our patrons just to make sure they're the kind of people that we want to be associated with. You know, there's a lot of weirdos out there. So I did a little digging in there on Matthew Kramer, and I tracked down a few of his exes. And I was looking for some really juicy, salacious information there. But turns out the one thing they had in common, every single one of them said that Matthew smelled like cookies. So that's pretty nice.
Yeah, if I had to pick something people to say about me, he smells like cookies. It could be worse.
I'm not even going to call him Matthew anymore. I'm going to say, thank you, Cookie Kramer. We appreciate your support, buddy.
To help support the show and get access to bonus content and cool swag and have Greg make up cool things about you, head on over to patreon.com/Bangkok Podcast and sign up. Only a couple of bucks.
So before we talk to our guest about the nitty-gritty of living on a tropical island in Thailand and just how different that is from living in Bangkok, we are quickly approaching, if you can believe it, 1 year, Evo, of doing the podcast. So for our 50th show, we thought we'd have some fun and answer questions submitted by our listeners. That's you. So if you have any questions about us or the show or Bangkok or whatever, just use our Facebook page, Twitter, or the contact form on our website to send us a question, and we will get to it on our 50th show, which is just 3 shows away, if my math is correct.
Sure, I'm not doing math with my brain the way it's functioning right now, but we've already got some questions that have been coming in. We would love to have a whole lot more because we got to fill time. So please, pretty much, get over there and give us your questions. And also, if you have not yet RSVP'd to the big I Love Podcasting in Bangkok meetup, which is coming up on August 30th of this year, please do so. It looks like we've already got quite a crowd that are planning on joining us. There's always room for more, well, as long as we can plan for the more. So please, RSVP if you have not done so. It's up on Facebook just because that's the easiest way to do all of these things like making reservations and stuff. There will be a link to the event in the show notes, which, by the way, if you're using a modern day podcatcher listening to us, you can access the show notes right now. Just click on the image. Is usually how most podcatchers work. It's how iTunes works. Click on the image of the show as it's playing right now, and you will pop up with show notes. And on those show notes will be a link to the RSV page. If you click that, the show will keep playing. Magic. It's 2017. It's the way the world works, kids.
What a time to be alive.
It's an amazing time to be alive. You click that, the show keeps playing in the background, so the time that I've been wasting talking here, you should have been clicking, damn it, and RSVPing, and it won't interrupt the show at all. So pretty please do so now. I'll stop talking.
So like I mentioned on this episode, we're going to talk to an old friend of mine. Now, I met this guy about 12, 13 years ago in Bangkok. His name is Tad. He first came to Thailand in 2002, and he has lived on Koh Lanta since 2006. Now, for most Westerners, I think from North America at least, and probably the UK and much of Europe as well, when you say living in paradise, I think a lot of people would automatically think of blue water, white sand, palm trees, coconuts, and what have you.
Yeah.
Well, that's Tad's reality, but we're going to talk to him about what his reality is actually like and how maybe living in quote unquote paradise is not all it's cracked up to be. Because people often have inflated expectations or outdated expectations or expectations that are just plain wrong. So I thought I'd call him up, have him on the show, and hear what it is like living in paradise. So let's hear a bit from Tad. Well, I'm talking with an old friend of mine who I don't see often enough, but I'm glad he was able to come on the show. Tad, welcome to the Bangkok podcast.
Hey, Greg, how you doing, man?
But it's funny because when we connected here online, I said, "Hey, are you running a fan? Do you have a fan blowing on your microphone?" And you said, "No, actually, that's the ocean." So that gives you a pretty good idea of the disconnect that I have as a city slicker talking to someone who lives on an island.
Oh, come on, you can smell the river where you are, can't you?
Yeah, actually, I am about 300 feet from the river, and thankfully I can't smell it. But thanks for coming on the show. Now, last week, my partner and I, Evo, we recorded a show talking about the downside of living in Bangkok, despite how much we love living in the city. And I thought it would be interesting to talk to a friend or someone who lives on quote unquote paradise. Now, for a lot of foreigners, most foreigners who come from Western countries, paradise means a beach, palm trees, and tropical weather. And you, my friend, happen to live on Koh Lanta, which is an island in the south of Thailand, which last time I was there was full of palm trees and sand and sunny weather. So
Still beautiful.
that's good to hear. Can you give us a quick rundown of how you ended up there and why Koh Lanta?
I came to Thailand as a backpacker, like so many people do, in 2002, and just wanted to go around. And this is my first time in Asia, so I just wanted to experience new styles of living and see what this culture was all about, and party a lot at that time.
Right on.
Yeah. So I ended up in Koh Phangan, my first visit, and I just loved it. I thought the full moon party was where it's at, and it's nonstop and awesome. So I spent 2 months, I think, on Koh Phangan, and then I went back home and planned my next trip to Thailand, which was a year later, and went back to Koh Phangan. Same thing was going on, the full moon party, rave, and after about a week and a half, I was so over it. It was just like, it's just the same thing every day. It's Groundhog Day, but with like Red Bull and Sangsum. So I struck out, and Farang magazine, I don't know if you remember them.
I do, yeah, vaguely, a long time ago.
Yeah, I loved that magazine, but I think they stopped publishing it because somebody decided Farang was a derogatory term for some reason.
Okay.
That's what I heard. Yeah. Anyway, they listed Koh Lanta as the, open quote, last of the Robinson Crusoe Islands, close quote. And I was like, oh, Robinson Crusoe Island, I got to go do that. Little did I know at the time that's a title that's handed down every few years to a different island. I just happened to pick up the article that listed Koh Lanta. But it was still hardly touched. They had been doing tourism here for about 15, 20 years. But where I ended up was dirt roads, no phone service, no cell phone service. Internet was all by satellite. And it was really on the edge of civilization. For those of you who don't know Koh Lanta, it is off on the Andaman coast, off the coast of Krabi, and you have to take 2 ferries to get here. Well, not anymore. They've recently built a bridge over one crossing, but it is still relatively remote. We don't have any Starbucks or McDonald's or Burger Kings or any of those things that you find at some of these tourist hotspots in Thailand. We do have the requisite dozen 7-Elevens, but apart from that, it's pretty removed. So I came here and I decided I really liked it, and it was a real change from the lifestyle I was living in Los Angeles. And Los Angeles is all about upward mobility and status and money. And Koh Lanta was none of that. Koh Lanta was just living life day to day. People here are really laid back. They're from, mostly agricultural people, like farmers and fishermen. And so it was very easy to slip into this very, very chilled out, de-stressed lifestyle. And it kind of fit like my Zen attitude at the time.
I bet you've seen some pretty crazy changes in that time, right? Like infrastructure, buildings, hotels, resorts, tourists.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm literally 20 feet from where I was living, 13 years ago as a backpacker. And now I'm talking to you on a fiber optic internet line. I've got 3 phone providers to choose from when it comes to wireless phone, and concrete roads everywhere.
7-Elevens.
Tons of hotels have sprung up. Yeah, dozens of 7-Elevens. We've managed to escape the KFCs so far.
Well, that's interesting because I've been to Atlanta probably 3 or 4 times, and last time was probably about 5 or 6 years ago when I saw you down there briefly. Now, I'm assuming that you still love it there because you've been there for so long, and I'm assuming you call it home just like I call Bangkok home. But I wanted to talk a little bit about, can you give us the reality? What are some of the things that you don't like about living in quote unquote paradise? What bothers you? What gets on your nerves?
Well, it's funny when you brought this up to me the other day about this being the subject of the podcast that you wanted to talk to me about, because I run a bar. So
okay.
Every day I'm talking to tourists, and every day I have this conversation.
Do you really? I'm sorry, man.
Oh yeah, no. Oh my God! Wow, you must have the best life. You live in paradise. You've got a bar. People really, blow it out of proportion. Because they're on holiday, and for them, everything's amazing, and the sun's always shining, and everybody's always having a party. But you're right. There is a reality side to it, which is it's anywhere you live. Eventually, it's home, and that means paying bills and doing the laundry and you doing your shopping and paying the rent. And at the end of the day, like, I haven't been swimming in the ocean in maybe 6 months.
Really?
If not longer. Yeah, and I could probably, throw a rock and hit the ocean from here. But it's one of those things, when it's right there, when it's in your neighborhood, you never do it because it's always there. So I always have the opportunity. I can hike to the waterfall, or I can, go to the hot springs on the mainland, or I can do this or I can do that. Let's go to another island for a camping trip. Those options are always there. But I'm busy living my life. That's, on a personal level, that's a frustration. People assume that you're living in paradise, therefore everything's easy. No, it's you're living your life. You do the things you need to do, and you're at the end of the day, you are who you are. So if you've got to be happy with yourself, and you got to be comfortable in your own skin, and it doesn't really matter where you are. Now, there's the other side of the living in paradise, which is there's a lot of inconveniences being so far from what we would call quote-unquote civilization. Getting things done properly is a problem. Like, I have one guy on the whole island I know who can do windows. So if you break a window and the window guy's busy, you're kind of stuck.
Okay.
Or if he's, and I've had problems with I've been through so many electricians and plumbers and construction guys because you don't get the best of the best don't come out into the middle of nowhere to work here. It's always some guy who, I saw my uncle do something with electricity once. I'm an electrician.
Right.
And it can be frustrating sometimes. You really have to be Buddhist about it. It's expectations. What did I think was going to happen?
Right.
When I hired this guy with no shoes to come in and do my electrical system. You know?
I've had similar experiences in Bangkok when you talk to people who are here on vacation and they're just blown away. The sun is always out. It's amazing. The food is great. It's a party every night. And some of them go back home and then some of them come back and then they're like, oh, I've got to pay taxes and do paperwork and sit in the immigration office and I got to find a job. And now I'm just doing the same thing I would be doing back home in Thailand. So say one of these guys comes to your bar and says, wow, you really got it set up, man. You're living in paradise. I'm going to do the same thing as you. And he comes back a month later and he's like, okay, I sold my stuff, quit my job. I'm now living on Koh Lanta or whatever island. I'm living on Koh Lipe or I moved to Koh Mak or whatever.
Idiot.
And he says to you, Tad, what advice can you give a guy like me just starting out living in quote unquote paradise?
Okay, so say you want to move here and you want to start a business. Okay. You're going to have to work 7 days a week. You're going to have to watch everybody who you're working with step by step. Choose your business partners carefully. And it's not because people are out to get you. It's just one thing is you meet a lot of people, say, here on a tropical island who run resorts or restaurants or bars because that's what the market asks for. Not that they were born to be the world's greatest bartender or the world's greatest hotelier or the world's greatest restaurateur. But like their family has a piece of property and somebody said, you know what, a restaurant would be really nice there. And suddenly they run a restaurant. That doesn't make up for never having restaurant experience.
I hear what you're saying too about I've met people like that too. You meet them in a social situation and everyone's happy, joy, and you're clinking drinks and you're telling jokes, and then you might meet them a week later or a month later, and the more you get to know them, one day you step back and you're like, oh my God, this guy's a goddamn lunatic. He's crazy.
There's that too. Yeah. See, I'm trying to choose my words carefully because I don't want to like insult. Like I love Thailand, Thai people. People that everybody's out for themselves. Everybody's out to, just like anywhere else in the world, everybody wants to be a success. And if they think that like you're willing to pay for them to go into the restaurant business, hell yeah, why would somebody came along and said, hey, Tad, I'm going to set you up with your own hotel. I'd be, yeah, I don't know shit about hotels, but yeah, all right. So, it's choosing your business partners wisely, I guess.
And the way Thailand and many other countries in the world operate too, people aren't bound by the same cultural conventions or legal restrictions that we are used to. So sometimes people play fast and loose with money, with reputations, with resources, with expectations. And if you get into it the wrong way, you're in trouble. So you come here expecting that everything's going to work as you're used to, and it doesn't. And it can be a big problem.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Not only financially or something like that, but you'll wake up one day and go, oh my God, my life's a nightmare. So after living on Lanta for so long now and living your life, and I'm assuming you got a pretty average life for someone who lives on an island. You're not jetting around on yachts, and you're not living under a bridge.
That's the other thing. And you touched on that. There, it's two things. Things aren't going to be to the standard that you would expect in Germany or Canada or America. Don't expect those standards. Like I can't just run down to Home Pro and pick something up when I need it. It's sometimes you just have to make do. And then the other thing is you'll move here with this expectation of being your own person, running your own business, and how could it not be a success? And you could very, very well be successful, but you are successful on Thai terms, which means you're in the Thai economy, in a country where minimum wage is, I guess if we said American, $9 a day. You can do very well here. Like I can work and work all year, and what I save up here is not the equivalent of what I would save up if I worked in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I have a pretty cool job and a pretty comfortable lifestyle. But if I went back to Canada with what I have now, I'd be living out of my car in a month.
Exactly. Yeah, and which is
if I could afford a car.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so it's just that people just have to temper their expectations. and know that
Right.
like you're gonna have to adjust to the lifestyle.
So after living there for, more than a decade now, do you think, has it changed you? Could you go back to LA or
Oh,
just
hell no.
move back to Bangkok?
No, I don't think I'll ever go back to living in the States. Never say never. When I go home for holidays, it blows my mind how clueless people are. Not clueless, thoughtless. Everything's taken for granted. Life is so good in America, and people have so many wonderful opportunities, and somebody's
Right.
monthly cable television bill being $80 a month. I guess we're catching up with that here in Thailand. But that's one of those things where people just assume like, oh yeah, well, I got to spend that, and I got to spend $100 a month on my cell phone, and I got to spend this, that, and go to the grocery store and spend $200 a week on groceries, and I find it astounding. And then they, have the gall, in my opinion, to turn around and want to tell the rest of the world what they're doing wrong.
Very well put. Very well put.
Yeah, I went back to America with my Thai girlfriend a number of years ago, and she was shocked. She was like, I thought you were the country that was behind environmentalism. And all I see is people throwing stuff away and wasting stuff, and everything's plastic and this, that, and the other. And I had never really thought about it before, but yeah, it's, I don't know, thoughtless.
As we're just getting wrapping up here, I just wanted to say, I guess the bottom line here is that if you're gonna take your life and move like to another culture and another place, in this instance, an island in Thailand, quote unquote paradise, don't expect to move in a bubble and then if you want to leave, have that bubble come back with you, because that experience, whether it's 1 year or 5 years or 10 years, is going to change you. And it's going to change how you see Thailand. It's going to change how you see your new life, your old life, and how you plan for things in the future.
Absolutely.
So living in paradise is not all it's cracked up to be. And there's a lot of things that people just generally don't think about.
Yeah, and you really nailed there on the head with the don't expect to live in a bubble, because one thing that I've noticed, people who move here, and it happens every year, you get people who come and try different businesses and this and that. The people that always, you can tell, are not going to last and are going to disappear quickly are people who are jerks, who are not nice, who treat locals with disdain. If you're a nice person, you get along and you want to learn and you're open-minded and open-hearted and you want to, really get in touch with your fellow humans who live here on the island with you, you're going to be fine no matter what. But those people who come here thinking that they can just be in this bubble and just they don't last. They're never a success because, it is an island. It's a very small community. In my part of the island where I live, we have maybe 1,500 people. And I guarantee you, all the Thai people know me by name and on sight. So if I was some sort of a jerk, I would not last long at all. And that's not to say I'm an angel, but I think part of the reason that I've been here so long is I get along with people.
I have a good friend who said it really nicely one time, and I think we'll end on this. And he said, when you come to Thailand or any other country for that matter, if you move out of your home country, but in this case, again, it's Thailand. He said, when you move to Thailand, don't try to change Thailand. Let Thailand change you. Well, wise words from someone who's been there and done that. Thanks for coming on the show, man. It's interesting to hear a different perspective. We sometimes get lost up in the big city here, but it's interesting to hear about someone who lives, again, in quote-unquote paradise and deals with a lot of the same problems that we deal with in Bangkok, but with a couple of extra ones that we don't have to worry about, such as one window guy. But it was really interesting hearing what you have to put up with. So thanks for coming on the show, man.
No problem. Oh, cobras. I forgot to mention that.
You got to deal with cobras?
Oh, yeah. I've killed the probably 10 cobras in living here. Yeah. Well, you gotta. Once they're in the house, they gotta get out. Sorry, I didn't mean to sidetrack your ending, but yeah, look out for cobras. No, people never ask about the cobras.
All right, man. Thanks a lot for coming on.
No problem. Thank you so much, Greg. It's a pleasure.
And once again, it is time for everyone's favorite segment of the show. That is Love, Loathe, or Leave, where we look at one minor aspect of living in Bangkok and find out if it's something the two of us love about living in Bangkok, something we loathe about expat life, or if it's something we hate so much that it just might cause us to leave Thailand entirely. This week, I have the honors, Greg, and we talked about this briefly on one show before, but I thought we should dedicate an entire Love, Loathe, or Leave section to the fascination that Thai men have with their comb-overs. Now, comb-overs for the non-North American listener may not be kind of a big deal, but we being Americans specifically, have been poking fun of dudes with comb-overs for a long time, current president notwithstanding. We like to make fun, and what we have kind of figured out as a culture in America is like, dude, don't do the comb-over. Your dad did that in the 60s. So today, if you are unfortunately losing your hair like Greg, the best possible solution you have is not a comb over. It's not a toupee. It's shave your head. We kind of dig the bald headed dudes. Of course, that may change with our current president. Nope, stop. So that's the common way to do that. But you come to Thailand, or I come to Thailand, and I've lived here for a couple of years now, and I have noticed that, wow, these are some epic comb overs that my grandfather would have been proud to have rocked. They are sweet.
I've seen some good ones, and as a follically challenged gentleman, I'm lucky that I have a good shaped head, I think. My head is kind of shaped like The Rock's or Vin Diesel's. In fact, from the eyebrows up, I am identical to The Rock. It's from the eyebrows down where the problems come in. But yeah, they do some pretty wild stuff here, and it doesn't seem to be, I don't know if they're aware of the cultural baggage it carries, but perhaps it doesn't carry cultural baggage here at all.
Yep.
And the only reason I say that is because when my first job in Thailand, 2001, I was teaching at a hoity-toity girls' high school, a bit high-so, and very, very Thai, run by a very conservative board of old ladies. And I remember when I first started, one of them was talking to me, and she sort of half suggested, half asked me to shave my goatee. Because she said the girls might not be familiar with facial hair, and they might be a little bit upset by it or put off by it.
Right.
And I thought about it a little bit, and I was like, no, I'm not going to shave my goatee. And I said, because you've got an 85-year-old guy over there teaching music, and he's got a mole on his face the size of a Canadian quarter. And out of that mole is growing 3-foot strands of hair that come down to his kneecaps. And if that's not grossing anyone out, my neatly trimmed and shaved goatee is not going to freak anyone out.
Yeah, yeah.
So they have a whole different concept of maybe what is ugly or gross or hilarious or offensive hair.
And I think it's just the hair growth. It's almost like, look, there's still hair growing there. So we must respect the hair that is growing. It's okay to cut your hair that's on top of your head into a nice coif or, some nice way that it looks. But if you have other hair growing out of weird parts of your body, that hair tends to not ever get trimmed whatsoever. And maybe what is the point at which the top of your head realize it's no longer a regular head because I'm losing hair. Now I must treat it like a mole and just let the hair continue to go.
Well, I don't loathe or love comb overs, and I'm not going to leave because of them. I actually, you know what? I do love them because they always provide me with a little bit of a chuckle, a sensible chuckle on the BTS in the morning.
Yep.
I would never have one. I shave my head proudly.
Yeah.
But they do have some pretty impressive ones here. But I say, if you're cool with that, you go ahead, man.
I'm with you, man. I'm totally in the love category, like you. I'm never going to have one. It's just not the way that my brain works. When it starts to go, the whole thing's going. I'm taking the exact same route you did. But when I'm chuckling on the train when I see the gentlemen that look like this, please don't misunderstand. I'm not like going, what an idiot. He doesn't know how stupid he looks. No, that's not it at all. I'm laughing because to me it's funny, and I recognize that of the other people on this train, I'm the only one. I am the only one who thinks it's weird. Everybody else says, well, yeah, That's just kind of what you do. It's like we like making fun of guys that wore those stupid frilled collars back in the 1700s, right?
I'd say he gets extra points for having the balls to go out looking like that. It'll be like a dude wearing a kilt or something, just walking around like it's normal.
Right. Same exact deal. I haven't yet seen a guy with a kilt and a comb over. That would be cool.
That would be cool. Although now I mention a kilt, the guy's wearing no underwear. That might be nice and breezy in sweaty Bangkok.
Mando. Hey, buddy, before we take off out of here, I want to talk about your country because you brought it up earlier.
Oh, God. All right. What do you got?
Your country is kind of falling down on the job. So now
Canada,
I've been looking at the stats of where our listeners are. Uh-huh. And we have a lot of listeners in Canada. That's not surprising because half of our show, that's you, is from Canada. We have a lot more listeners in America because A, I'm cooler, and B, there are more of us. And so we have more there. But when I got to breaking down your individual stats for your country, you hail from the Alberta side, yes?
Yeah, from Alberta and British Columbia to a lesser extent.
Well, British Columbia is kicking the snot out of Alberta as far as overall downloads. I'm looking at these numbers, and they're pretty weak overall. I mean, especially Alberta's not doing nearly as good as you think. For some reason, Toronto has a lot more. The whole Ontario area has lots more downloads than Alberta. I'm thinking are a lot less Canadian than you think. I'm thinking the Canadians have kind of kicked you out of the country. They've built their own ice wall between you and them, and they're just not paying attention to you anymore. We need to talk more about Canada to bring in the Canadians listening to the show, Greg.
How dare you? I'm going to frown at you and then apologize, and you're not going to forget it.
Oh, wow. If you didn't apologize, that'd be weird.
Well, I don't know what to say, Canadians. Tell your friends. Tell your friends to tell their friends. Get on social media, post about us. We'd like to hear from our friends in Canada because you're my countrymen, and I want to hear what's going on because I've been gone a long time, and I need I need some updates about what's happening back there. Is it still snowing there in the wintertime? I don't even know. Been gone so long. Well, if you'd like us to say nice things about you on the show, or you just want to get the show early, as well as access to some special patron-only bonus content, head to patreon.com/Bangkok Podcast and lend us your support. We really, really do appreciate it. And thanks to you for listening to the Bangkok Podcast. If you have something on your mind or just want to drop us a line to say hello, please leave a comment on BangkokPodcast.com, or you can reach out directly to me on Twitter where I am BKK Greg.
Or you can send us a message either on Twitter or on Facebook or online. We are at Bangkok Podcast. We're very good at responding to your messages, your comments, your questions, and all those heaps of praises as well. So keep them coming any direction you would like to do that. For Greg Jorgensen, I am Evo Terra. We shall be back next week with more stories of our lives lived in the City of Angels, right here on the Bangkok Podcast. Chok di krap! And to help try that again. And to help, I'm trying that one more time. God damn it. Oh, I am beat.